everybody. My name is Carolyn, and I am very happy to welcome you to our next edition of the Shot Pharmaversity podcast. Today's edition will cover the very interesting topic of core vials, how statistical process control elevates your fill and finish efficiency. And for giving you an overview here, today I'm not alone, and I'm very happy and pleased to have Anne Lofi here with us today. Anne is product manager at Shot Pharma, and she has quite a few years of experience working in the pharma industry. So let's see what we can learn from her now on that topic, which might sound a bit basic at the beginning, but where the impact might be bigger than you think. So, hello, Anna. Let's see if you are there with us here today.
Hi. Hi. Yes, I'm here. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. I'm very happy to have you here as my guest. And Anna, maybe to start directly, I just mentioned the topic of today is about core vials. And to get started, can you please shortly explain how you do understand core vials?
Sure. Happy to do that. So our core vial portfolio is part of the entire core portfolio. So core vials, core ampoules, and core cartridges. And our core vials, I love the word that you just used, is the basic. So it's what you get if you want to buy a vial. Without any sterilization, no ready to use, which is called adaptic at Schott Pharma, but also no, as we call it, high value solutions from the Averic family, which is actually coatings and geometry optimizations. The core vials are our basic vial offering.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for that rough definition here. And yeah, if I hear that as the basic and the core vials, I imagine that topic is quite relevant for drugs such as generics or traditional vaccines, where there is a quite, I would say competitive market with a high price pressure. Well, is that correct? And if so, do you see any saving potential in the supply chain here?
It's always, it depends. So first of all, yes, that's correct. Those are usually the types of drugs that go into core vials. Not limited to them, of course, but about ballpark. So when we talk about saving within the supply chain, what you might aim at is to try to purchase especially cheap vials in order to save costs. That can be a strategy. But to be honest, today we would like to take a look at why the vial decision is a bit more than just a cost-saving option, because it actually is part or becomes part of the pharmaceutical company's fill and finish process as it runs through the lines and actually, influences how fast and how well you can produce.
Okay. And when it comes to how the vial affects the efficiency in the processes, can you explain those effects on efficiency here?
Sure. I think there's many. Let's take a look at the four ones that I find most important. So the first one is the line speed. So the vial runs on the line, right? And the more uniform, the better shaped, especially the bottom parameters of the vial are, the less it trembles, the less it moves, the less it sticks and climbs. And that allows pharmaceutical companies to run their lines at full speed. So we can, depending on the machine, the bulk machine that they're using, we can talk about 400, 600 vials per minute. And if you can run your line at full speed, that of course means more output in the end than compared to a slower running machine. And in this context, we also come to the second part that can happen. So when the vials are not performing well on the line, it can come to glass breakage. This could be the case when maybe the machine is running at full speed, but the vials cannot really cope with that speed because they are not even enough. And glass breakage, of course, means that the process needs to be stopped, the line needs to be cleaned. Worst case, drug product was already filled, so you need to clean spilled drug product, and that just means production comes to a halt during that time. Those are two factors. Then the third factor we could take a look at is the cosmetic. So container-related faults, rejects at the end of filling can actually be a problem. For example, if the glass mass is not distributed evenly and the camera inspection system sees something that's maybe just glass moved within the container, but interprets it as a defect, then the filled and closed drug product is discarded. So we're losing not only drug product and container, we also use the closure components and the time all these spent on the fill and finish line. And then the fourth point we could take a look at is container closure integrity. Of course, the container needs to be closed properly in order to save the drug or protect the drug from the environment and to ensure that nothing can go into the vial. And here as well, if the crown, but also the height of the container is shaped uniformly, it's much easier for fill and finish lines to close containers properly.
Oh, wow. That's quite an impact for, I would say, just vials to have on the entire fill and finish TCO.
Yes, true. But as always, I mean, there's a trick, and we can make use of this knowledge and optimize our vial production accordingly. It's really just all about understanding the CQAs.
Okay, and when you're talking about the CQAs, which I guess means critical quality attributes, can you give us a few more information here, or I don't know, some further explanation, maybe an example, how to understand that better?
Sure. So maybe let's stay in the area of the container closure integrity. So I just said it's about the crown, but also about the height. If we take a look at the height of the container, you can imagine if all containers have the exact same height, then the machine always needs the exact same force to push down the stopper into the opening of the vial, and then also to push down the crimp and close the crimp around the crown. And then all containers are closed equally well. And yeah, that would be just really great, right?
Yeah, that would be great. You're right. So actually, it's quite easy. All vial producers just have to produce uniform vial height, and then the fill and finish is optimized. Is that the way?
Perfect. Yeah, yeah, that would actually be great. And if we could all do that, that would be awesome. But in the end, forming vials from glass tubes is it's still a little bit of an art, you know. You have the long tubes, you need to cut them to the right length. During the production process, you have to form the bottom, you have to form the top part. And I mean, with all these steps, little variations happen and they can add up. And even within tolerances, yeah, uniformity can vary. So yeah, it's not that easy.
Okay, but if you're saying not easy, it doesn't mean impossible, right?
Luckily, it's not impossible, right? Well, it's probably impossible to have them all at the exact height. But we wouldn't be shot if we wouldn't strive to become better with everything we do. So we currently, or we have always had process control in place to ensure that our vial production is good and uniform and within the defined tolerances. But we always strive to get better, of course. And that's why we implemented statistical process control. And statistical process control is actually a concept within the Six Sigma framework that we use to, yeah, to optimize our production process.
Mhm. And can you please mention in a nutshell what does SPC or statistical process control mean for the vial production actually?
Yes, of course. So as I said, it is a defined framework and we're making use of it. And what it can do is actually it enables organizations to switch from a rather reactive solving approach to a proactive approach. So with a result of reducing waste and of course, what's most important to us in this parameter is increasing customer satisfaction because creating more uniform containers, as we learned, helps our customers to have a better fill and finish process and overall better TCO. What it also does, the SBC, I mean, is it allows for real-time monitoring. So during production, we measure, let's say in our example, for every container that we form, we measure the height And then this height is displayed in a so-called control chart. And the statistical process control helps us to evaluate if variations happen, whether they are part of the process and that whether they are natural or whether they're due to special effects. Maybe a tool or a part needs to be replaced. It's time to do that. And that's the reason why the vial height is maybe continuously getting a little bit higher than we want it to be. Then we can make use of this knowledge and bring the process back towards the target, going back to uniform vial height by interfering early and changing the part that needs changing. And what we can also do with that is because all the data is written down and made visual and saved, we can also learn for the future. So with the actions that we're taking, we can actually measure how well they actually worked, and we can use that knowledge in future production processes or future batches.
Mhm. Okay. Well, so if I summarize that, let me just summarize it. Production data is used and combined with statistical measures to basically make the vial production process more stable. Is that the way how I understand, or how I have to understand it?
Perfect. If that's what you took away, then I didn't explain it too difficulty. Thanks.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
And that leads then to more uniform containers in the end.
Correct. Yes, and we actually did a study about it. And here we actually compared production data from or with and without statistical process control, and we really do see good results.
Oh, okay. So perfect that you did such a study here on that topic, and also to be able to scientifically in the end confirm this approach. And yeah, and I'm not sure if our audience and maybe to our listeners here, if they want to get more insights, I'm pretty sure they can get in touch with you afterwards. Or yeah, you can also listen for sure to the Pharmaversity webinar on that topic, because it will give you definitely more and more depth insight, I would say, here on this study as well, right?
That is correct.
Perfect. And yeah, Anna, actually, this also brings me to the point that our podcast is coming to an end, unfortunately. But I can only yeah, ask you to give us maybe a short, yeah, I would say wrap up here, what our audience should take away with them from today's podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It's been great being here. Thank you. So yeah, wrapping up. What's important to take away is that container uniformity really is key for the TCO fill and finish. And understanding this really helps. And it helps both sides. So for the pharmaceutical company, um, it's important to understand these factors to make better purchasing decisions, to ask the right questions when purchasing containers, to do the right tests on their lines, and to also understand how to adjust their lines accordingly to be fit. And for manufacturers, on the other hand, like us, it's also important to understand how vials run on fill and finish lines, even though we do not do the filling. But for us, it just helps to understand where the pitfalls could be to produce better uniformity, better vials, and yeah, to support customers to have a good vial experience with our containers.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Anna, for this wrap up, but also for sure for being here today with us and for giving us all the answers. Yeah, and being prepared for these ones. And yeah, also to the audience out there, thanks for listening to you out there. And we hope you enjoyed our podcast today, and hope we raised also your interest maybe in checking out our Short Pharma Knowledge Hub for other Pharmaversity contents as well. And I can only say goodbye from my end. And Anna, as I said, a big thank you into your direction.
Thank you for taking the time. It's been a pleasure being with you. And goodbye.
Goodbye.